But yes, give yourself a Tesla. Tesla. That's good. Give yourself a Tesla.
That's the Tesla truck. The Tesla.
The Tesla. Oh man, the Tesla truck. What is that?
Welcome to Poutine Politics, Canadian issues served with cheese curds. My name's Adam.
My name's Mike. So this week I was thought long and hard about what we should talk about, and I thought we would go with something that's on everyone's mind usually. I thought we'd talk about a little bit of a deep dive into gas prices and why you go to the pumps and you see these prices that you're like, what is this? And why is it like this? And everything else like that in between. I did some research on that. It was fun.
All right. This is near and dear to my heart as I drive a lot for work. I put about 50,000 kilometers on my car every year. So when I go back over my receipts at the end of the year, I realize I spend a lot of money on gas. Now, I'm not picky. Whether I get the cheapest gas or not is not a big deal. But what exactly are your thought prices in regards to gas, Mr. I don't have a license?
Well, listen, at one point in time I drove. I just haven't driven in a few years. So the one thing you always hear is people complaining about gas prices. Why is it that, for instance, on a long weekend, why do the prices all of a sudden go up? And it's like, why? So there's a lot of mechanisms involved in this to start with. So one thing that a lot of people don't understand about gas is something that can go bad. It's not something like, you can't put a can on the shelf and expect it to be good for the next 99 years. It's actually got about a 90-day shelf life. So the problem is that you can't just make more gas for when it needs to. So there's a lot of factors that go into play when it comes to the wide variety of pricing. And one of the big things that go into it is you got the price of crude oil, because that's where it starts. It starts with crude oil, so it depends on how much we get for a barrel cost. That's how much that goes. Then the oil has to get refined. So it has to go to different plants, some in Canada, there's some in the US. And here's where it gets fun. So occasionally plants will switch from making oil into gas and they'll switch to diesel, or they'll do maintenance, or they'll do whatever. And then all of a sudden you've got a supply issue. And some macroeconomics means that less supply equals more cost if there's a higher demand. More supply, lower cost to equal out demand. So that's kind of the overlay. And one thing I learned was that plants in California shutting down every year for a 2-week maintenance can then all of a sudden raise prices in mid-April, which is something I didn't see happening or didn't even know. Like, why is California affecting my gas prices at the pump? But it is, because once it's refined, it takes 90 days, and 90 days means that now all of a sudden you've got an expiring commodity. If you're trying to do retail and all of a sudden oh shoot, I need more gas. Well, now I can't get it from California. Now I have to get my gas from
Texas.
Yes. Then it's going to cost me more to get it, or vice versa, or some combination of that. And each time it affects the price. Another thing that some governments like to produce is like, oh, there's this one specific tax that is causing all of this grief at the gas company. Unfortunately, most people don't realize is that between a third to 50%, depending on where you live, the price of your gas at the pumps is tax. It's not like, measly 4 cents on a liter. No. It's more like 50 cents on a liter.
So just to go over some of those numbers, at least that we deal with. So there's a federal excise tax, which is 10 cents a liter. There's an Ontario road tax, which is 14.7 cents a liter. There's the HST, which is 13%. And now obviously the carbon tax, which is 4.4 cents a liter in Ontario.
Yeah. So there's all kinds of these different tax incentives. So if you really want to complain about taxes and you're somehow the Ontario government complaining about the fact that there's a tax hike, that you could turn the dial down on your taxes for your own revenue stream. And therefore you could balance out the tax hike on the carbon tax if you wanted to, rather than just complaining about the fact that the federal government has introduced a new tax.
I want to point out something there, because in the non-platform platform for the PC party in the last election, 2018, the one sticking point there, or the one talking point they had was, oh, we're going to bring the price of gas down 10 cents a liter, which, I mean, when you look at price of gas today and it's like $1.20, 10 cents a liter, doesn't make much of a difference. When gas was at 99 cents, then it went down 10 cents. Oh, that's 10%. 10% is a fair bit of a drop. But what I found funny was in the fall, when we were down around like 89-ish cents a liter, and Doug Ford or his PR team or whoever handles his Twitter account is like, look, we've met our mandate of bringing the price of gas down 10 cents a liter, and now it's at $1.20, and they're not saying anything.
Yeah, it's always funny about how they pick and choose. And there are definitely times of the year, if you were to look at it, much like there are different weather patterns, there's different times of the year where gas prices do fluctuate and you'll see them go down. Now, on the very, very small scale, especially for long weekends, the reason why the gas goes up on Thursday before a long weekend isn't because your local gas pump is trying to price gouge you. It's because it's going to cost him more money to bring the gas in, so he has to sell at a higher price. And in fact, a lot of these guys on long weekends take a profit loss. Like they actually lose money on the gas because they can't get the money back from it because of how much it costs further to get that much more. And they can often, some places, like have to double to triple the amount of gas they need to import that day. So, and if they don't sell it all, now all of a sudden they've got this gas that's going to go bad if they don't sell it. And that's where sometimes you'll see on a local scale where one gas company drops its price by like 5-10 cents a liter. And you're like, why is one company doing it, but all the rest aren't? Well, because if he doesn't sell that gas in his tanks, it's just going to go bad and it's going to go waste.
And I'm guessing by the time they actually receive the gas, obviously it's already at a certain point in its life, right?
Yes.
Because really that 90 days starts, with the refining process, not once the tanker gets to the gas station and fills up the underground tanks. So I mean, really, like, do you know what the time frame is for that?
Not sure. I just know the point of it is that whether it's 90 days, 120 days, it isn't a 1 year process. It is a relatively short time scale shelf life. And I think one of the reasons why gas is pricing on so many people's minds is, unlike the price of bread or price of a pair of shoes, you can't shop at 120 kilometers an hour. Sorry, 100 kilometers an hour must be the speed limit. Going around to different places.
Hold on. There are some provinces, I think, that do have 120, maybe 110 kilometer an hour speed limit.
Yeah, they've been talking about that for a while.
Well,
110. But you can't just go shopping at, road speed to the different places where they all advertise on the outside of where they are how much it costs to do this thing. So that makes it much more in the people's faces and are saying where they're going. So that's where it gets complicated. Now, here's where it gets really fun. There has been in Ontario a report of collusion between gas companies in Kingston where 4 companies got charged for price fixing. So am I saying that it doesn't exist? They're businesses. They're going to make money. And one of the best ways to make money is to make sure that all of your prices are all the same and they're all higher than what they should be. That's a fantastic way because you have to buy gas. You don't have a choice, usually, whether or not you want to buy gas or not want to buy gas. You have to buy gas at some point if you want to drive, right? So they got charged for price fixing. And in fact, they had to, every person in the Kingston area could go up and get $20 as a rebate.
Ooh, so just like the Loblaws bread price fixing situation.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because unlike with Loblaws and their bread fixing, Loblaw bread fixing would be a much harder thing to monitor because, I mean, who keeps track of bread that thoroughly? Like, there are fantastic apps you can download to your phone, like Gas Buddy. That's a great one where you can go on and be like, hey, look, this is the price of gas here, this is the price of gas here, this is the price of gas here, and you can just go get the best price. It's fantastic, right? And I encourage everyone to use those ones so you can get those nice discounts. However, unlike with bread, I mean, unless you're actively looking and price matching and things like that, which at one point in time I did, you're not going to keep track of bread prices. I would never know if bread was being fixed. Like, it would take such a deep dive, and companies like that can get away with that much more easily. Like, the number of times in Ontario, I think that the gas companies have been filed, like, with the competition. What's it called?
Oh man,
the Bureau of
it's Competition Bureau. I know that.
Yeah, the Competition Bureau. The Competition Bureau since 1972 has been investigating gas and price fixing 29 times. It's not something where people are just, they're all of a sudden just finding this stuff and like, oh, this gas company's doing it, and this gas company's doing it. Like, it's not getting swept under the rug. It's something very visible, and people keep track of it. There's people that have websites dedicated to the different price matching and figuring out when the best time to get gas is. Which, by the way, is Wednesday around 12 o'clock. Just in case you ever want to make sure you fill up the right time, that's the best time to fill up, according to the experts.
Hold on, 12 o'clock noon or midnight?
Midnight.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Who's gonna go out at midnight?
Well, I mean, sometimes I'm not home from work until after midnight.
Yes, it's 12 in the afternoon, which kind of makes sense because you're not getting the weekends, which would be terrible, and a lot of people are trying to get rid of their supply to bring in new supply or whatever the case may be. So you can often get the best prices. Now people say, well, how come Costco can be so much cheaper?
Loss leader.
It's not actually. They make profit on it.
What?
They do.
Oh,
It's not like
Damn.
milk. It's not like milk, eggs, and the other things, which are loss leaders. Which when you tell people, what companies lose money on products, they say, yeah, they do. They really do. They just want you in the store. Because some people don't even go into Costco. They just use their gas. It's volume. It's just volume. It's the Costco motto is what it is. Like, they just do so much gas. And if you look at Costco's model, do they have cash? No. Well, that saves on cost. Do they have 3 different types of grades of fuel? Nope. They have 2. Do they have different ways of paying? Nope. They have their in-store credit card, basically, and debit. And the reason why that's important is that debit transactions cost for the transaction goes towards the customer usually. So you have to pay for your debit transactions, or you have a bank account that's sufficient funds that the bank will cover. Credit card companies go, they don't make their customers pay for it. They make the companies pay for it. So oftentimes, most, like Walmart almost lost their wanted to get rid of visas. They won't put anything but their own credit cards on there because that's how they're going to make the most money, right?
right. Yeah, like Walmart promotes MasterCard because they have a Walmart MasterCard.
Right.
You know, you go through a register. Would you like to put that on your Walmart MasterCard today? No, I don't need a 50,000th credit card. Thank you very much. With a 30% interest rate.
Let's not go there today. That's a fun topic for another day. That I'm quite passionate about. So the reality is that that's why Costco can do it. It's volume, simplicity means that they can just pump through people like mad. And if you look at your local convenience store with a gas station on it, they're going to serve, maybe 3, maybe 4 people, unless they're a big gas bar. But Costco can just pump through people like mad. And it's just like there used to be those really big Flying J stores that you would get. They're all over the U.S. and there's one in Napanee. And they would be 5 cents cheaper than everybody else because they just do so much volume that, when you're doing that much volume, you can lower your price.
Well, and they're pulling in the truckers usually as well, right? Like I know there's like you mentioned Flying J. There's one outside of London, and I not that I'm down there often, but I like going there because it has a Denny's.
Oh, a Denny's, yes. To get your apple pie.
Well, Grand Slam, and maybe the apple pie too.
Yeah, it's always about the pie when you're going to truck stops. So the thing is that when you go to your local gas, don't complain to the cashier because he has no business. They don't control the prices. They're just there to do their job. I don't understand people complaining to the wrong person. I hate your gas prices. Yeah, because the cashier making minimum wage behind the counter. Yeah, he's going to set them. But there's no point because oftentimes if they're a franchise band, their franchise numbers are set. So if it's an ESO, the guy who's running the ESO isn't making the prices. It's the company. They're telling them what the prices are. Now, to say that you shouldn't do your due diligence to try and make sure people aren't price fixing, yes, you should always do your due diligence about price fixing. It's a very big concern. Collusion is something that happens. It's why it's in the lexicon. It's why baseball got in trouble for it back in the 80s. It's something that businesses will do to make sure that they can make the most money because they are in the business to make money. The reality is that if gasoline prices were fixed or if there was a big conspiracy, you would never see a gas company go under or never see a gas station close. And I'm like, I've seen tons. And even in our town, there's been at least 4 that have closed.
Yeah.
That just aren't opening. Like,
yeah.
And not because of bad locations. They're not making money.
Well, part of it might be bad locations. Like there's the 2 downtown in particular that are like down the street from each other.
But they're both
closed.
They're both closed. But
yeah.
One of them should be open. There's no reason why. There's enough traffic there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's absolutely no gas stations downtown, like in the downtown core, with those ones closed.
Mm-hmm. So one should be open.
Yeah.
One should be making some money. It's just crazy that's not. So, sometimes it's just unfortunate that people get so they just complain and complain. It's like the weather. You can't complain about it. It's just the reality of it. If you don't like the price of gas, drive electric. Get yourself a Tesla. And anytime Tesla wants to advertise for a company, just please send us an email.
This episode not advertised by Tesla. Okay, you mentioned earlier Gas Buddy.
Yes.
And that made me think of Dan McTeague. So Dan McTeague used to be a member of Parliament, Liberal. He works for them now, I think, if I was looking up correctly. Now, so he was the guy, especially when he was in Parliament, that was always like, oh, the gas prices are going to be going up tomorrow, and make sure you go get your gas and save some money. And, oh, we're going to advocate to, try and get lower gas prices. And it kind of felt like a joke. I mean, it's good that, here's what I'd say. It's good that there was an advocate that either had some sort of insider information that could say, oh, well, I hear that the gas prices are going to go up tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, so make sure you go get your gas if you don't want to spend an extra, 3 to 7 cents a liter or something like that. Like, I guess I'm okay with that, but it seemed like, especially when he left politics and went to work for Gas Buddy, he was very much like I'm going to be an advocate for the consumer to, prices or control on gas prices, and you look at gas prices and it's like there is no control beyond what you've already talked about. It's not like we're going to convince the gasoline companies gas shouldn't be any higher than 79 cents a liter because of where the price of oil is, or so. Like, it's just, I don't know if advocacy matters.
Was he the crackpot from Ajax that kept on saying, like, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, not Ajax. He was from
Ajax.
Pickering Scarborough. Pickering Scarborough East was his riding. So I guess that would be Ajax. It's close.
Yeah,
it's close.
Yeah, so
it's close.
It is him. Yeah, so he's the one. He wanted to bring in a law, and it got shot down. That said that the companies had to give everybody a week's notice. Now I'm trying to pull from my memory, so forgive me if I'm wrong. But give everyone notice of a more than a 1 cent price change, which is insanity. Like, there's just no way that could work. It was just a ludicrous idea.
Well, it kind of goes against free market, right? Like, I mean, how if the free market is setting the price, then how are they going to know that the price is going to go up by more than a cent at a time? I guess in enough period of time, like you were saying earlier. I mean, I guess something like the shutdown of refineries in California is a planned 2 weeks. But if there's some problem with a pipeline that's gonna send oil, or trains that are shipping oil, or a refinery has a malfunction, like, those are things that just happen. There's no way to plan for those and be like, oh, in 2 weeks, the number 2 refinery down in Corpus Christi, Texas, is going to have a bit of an accident. Don't worry, nobody's going to die. It's just going to be somebody's going to go to the hospital. They might have burns. We just want to tell you that now, that it's going to happen, and that the price of gas, as a result, at your local gas stations is going to go up 7 cents a liter, because that one person hit the wrong switch and they burned themselves, and we had to shut the refinery down for 2 days. Or we will be shutting the refinery down for 2 days as a result of this future accident. Like, if they were that good, we'd be in Minority Report already.
Yeah, needless to say, he never got his things passed. But it was amusing. He was very, very big proponent. It was very much. But the idea that you could do that is just crazy town. Now, I have to admit, after learning so much about gas, it's one of the freest of all free markets out there as far as pricing goes, which I was happy to see, because the more free markets you have that have the least amount of regulations in, the better it is, provided that the companies don't have ulterior goals, right? Like, I'm all for free market so long as you don't have a company coming in and squashing other companies so they can raise the prices. Like
monopoly.
Yeah. Like what Blockbuster does. We used to do, sorry, I should say, when they would come into
Rest in peace.
Yeah. Bye. Didn't miss you. When they would come into small markets, and all these local video stores were charging, let's say, $4 for a movie, and they would come in and bring in like 60 movies, and have them at $4 or $3, undercut them so that way they would lose business and then jack the prices up as soon as they had no competition. It's like, we know what you're doing. That's good for your business. That's not good for business. And that's where you do need some regulations. But with gas, I mean, there's just, you should keep an eye on it for it. Like, price fixing is something that can happen. Like, there is a direct incentive, but that's not to say that every single time you see it go up on a long weekend, it's price fixing. It's them gouging. No one's gouging. It's not profitable. It's not a good business decision. No one's going to bail them out. No one's going to, and I have nothing wrong with Esso, but if Esso goes out of business tomorrow, nobody's going to cry over them. Nobody's going to go, oh, Esso's gone.
You know, you see those posts every now and then on Facebook, or probably, I mean, really, it probably started as like an old chain email thing or something like that. Oh, if everybody boycotts Petro Canada for 2 days, it'll result in them losing so much in sales, and the price of gas will go down. It's like, you realize at that point that a company like Petro Canada really has already sold the gas, because they've sold the gas to the independent business owner that's running that gas station. So really, if you decide to boycott gas stations in the hope that the price of gas will go down, the only person you're hurting is whoever that independent business owner is. Because most of those gas stations are franchised, as I understand it.
Yeah. I hope people can just hear me rolling my eyes at that statement. Like, the boycotting of gas stations. What are you doing? Unless you're boycotting the company, you're just going to get the gas the next day. So what are you doing? Like, oh, they're not going to go on Friday. Oh, so you're just going to come by and pick it up on Saturday? Like, what are you doing? You're just creating a situation where one day it's super busy for everybody, and the previous day it was super slow for anyone that just went, okay, I'm just going to get gas anyway. Like, I don't care about your silliness. Yay, thanks for the non-lineup. I appreciate it, but you're going to have to get gas. This is something you're going to have to get. It's something you can't, unless you go diesel or you go electric, but you're going to have to get gas. I just find it funny that we call a liquid a gas. I always find that hilarious. We should call it petrol. But,
Hey, we're not Europeans here, all right? Listen, it's gasoline,
not Adidas.
not Adidas. No,
Spelling
we're not
type.
pretentious.
It's not aluminium.
No, it's not aluminium either.
Even
Though that's what the periodic table of elements says. Yes, I know. It's aluminum. It's aluminum. It's aluminum can.
I say aluminium. So yeah, the final word on this is basically understand, keep an eye on gas prices. Use those apps. Those are fantastic apps to find out where you can get gas from. And if you can avoid filling up on long weekends, do so. Plan yourself out. But it's like anything. If you make a little bit of predictions and you do a little bit of planning, you can often save yourself some money. But the gas companies aren't to get you. There is no price fixing. There's no oil company that's out. There has been price fixing. However, I'm willing to put a fairly sizable wager down saying that they're probably going to get more price fixing from other businesses, like grocery stores and the price fixing on bread, than you ever would on gas companies who openly show what their prices are. That makes it a way more difficult process to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike has $10 in his wallet. He's ready to make a very big wager.
I really do have $10 in my wallet.
That was a perfect guess. I'm going to take that bet. So, this has been Poutine Politics on gas prices. My name's Adam.
My name is Mike.
Thank you for listening. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Poutine Politics. Be sure to keep up with us online and through social media. Our website is poutinepolitics.ca. You can find us on Facebook at Poutine Politics. You can find us on Instagram at Poutine Politics. You can find us on Twitter at Politics Poutine, because Twitter thought we were French. We're on YouTube, and we've also started a Patreon page at Patreon, patreon.com/Poutine Politics. We hope we've entertained you enough that you can show us some love. We'll be back next week